Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I thought I'd create a card with my new release that you can get on Create and Craft right now at the reduced price. It's my new October release for the All and Create birthday event. And I will add the link to purchase the bundle or individuals in the description. So I'm going to use, well, I don't know what I'm using yet. Which am I going to use? I think I'm going to use this stamp set initially. And sometimes, you know, I've done lots of samples with this leaf here. And sometimes we forget the little details. So I thought I might do something with that. So first of all, I've got my Pink Frog Smooth card. And this is 6.5 inches square, this piece of white card. 6.5 inches square. I've then got a piece of black card, 6.75 inches square. And my card blank is 7.5 inches square. So we're going for a square format this time around. And what I've got is I've got this dish. It fits onto a 6.5 inch square card blank. And you could use a saucer, you can use a side dish, plate. And I've already, as you can see, I've got these cut out of pieces of card. I don't think I've got it cut out of copy of paper, but if I need to cut it out of copy of paper, then I will. Now, this piece of card is 6.5 inches square. You can see I've used this before, and this is also 6.5 inches square. So it matches the card exactly. And what I did was I just simply drew around this and cut the inside out of the white card. I'm probably going to need one out of copy of paper, but we shall sort that out shortly. I didn't get my ink pads out because I'm naughty, because I want to go for a vintage. Do I want to go for a vintage three? Do I want to go to vintage, or do I want to go to greens? Do you like how I have no idea what I want to do? Bundled sage, mowed lawn, bit of twisted citron. And what about evergreen bow? So we'll go for some of those greens. I can't even remember what I used this this for previously, but there you go. So just going to pull out some cut and dry foam to use. So we've got mainly greens, haven't we? So this tool can be used for one. So just pulling out sort of some implements that I can use to apply my ink. So first of all, I'm going to use twisted citron. So I'm going to apply the Distress Oxide ink, making sure that I've got a good layer of that colour. You can just see me here on the right hand side, just applying that colour. I'm then going to just apply this low tack tape is also old low tack tape. I don't know why I didn't treat myself to some more. I have no idea. Now, to make it easy on yourself, you would probably move the card rather than, you see, this low tack tape is not working. Let's just remove that, place this back over. I'm going to keep the low tack tape off, just because then I can move the card just to reach the angle. I know what I'm going to do. Let me just grab the low tack tape. So I've got some low tack tape and I know what I'm going to do. Just add some fresh low tack tape just down that side, just so that it doesn't move. And as you spend so much time chasing your card around, can you still see? Yes. So just be aware that you just need to sort of take time just to blend your colours. Don't be in too much of a rush not to blend those colours. So this is Twisted Citron. If you want to, and you want to be secure, you can add low tack tape all the way around. If it's not working for you and it's not holding in place, and just add the low tack tape all the way around. I had a good tidy up and put everything away. Not a good idea really. So then I'm just going to continue just blending that around. My low tack tape, not my low tack tape, my cut and dry, I can't speak. My cut and dry foam is breaking up. I've used it that many times. I'm then going to use a little bit of bundled sage. So you just pick colours that make you happy. Just adding some of the greens. That bundled sage is a lovely colour. Really nice colour. I really like the bundled sage. Really beautiful colour. And you'll get good depth of colour if you just keep blending your colours and going round and sort of adding layers. So that's the bundled sage. So we've done twisted citron, bundled sage. We'll add a little bit of mowed lawn. Now this is quite a dark colour, quite rich. So you can see I've sort of started off the card. Let's give that a little bit more. You might not be able to see sort of the differences in colour, but in real life, I can see the differences in colour. So that was mowed lawn. I'm then going to add a touch of evergreen bough. So just picking up that ink, sort of a more bluey colour. And then what I'm going to do, not trap that in there. Did I put one? How can you, when you've tidied your desk, but straight away lose a piece of cut and dry foam? Right, let's use a little bit of twisted citron now, just to blend the lines out. So I'm just using that twisted citron just to blend the lines out. There we go. So let's move all those out of the way. So we can lift this up. Look at the beautiful colours in that. Just give my hands a little bit of a wipe. There we go. Just giving those hands a little bit of a wipe. Drying them on my trouser bottoms like you do. But you can just see, just beautiful. And what I'm going to do is just spritz with water just a little bit. And just let that do its thing for a couple of seconds. You'll see it start to sort of wick out just at the edges very slightly, which adds a lovely effect. And you just want to allow it to do its thing. Now, normally I would just let that dry on one side and then do the next thing, but I actually want to work on this. So let's grab some kitchen roll. You might not be able to see it in camera, but I can see it slightly wicking out at the edges, which just sort of softens the edges. I can see it here. If I bring this down, I can see it here. So it's just wicking out nicely, just to give a nice background effect. So what we're going to do is just clean that up. I'll just show you where that's wicking out. There you go. Just at the bottom, just at the top. Just softens the whole thing. So then we'll just dab with a piece of kitchen roll. You can see it removes some of that colour. Just dab that. And you get a really sort of beautiful oxidised effect. And I just love how it wicks out a little bit. So let's get a clean piece of the kitchen roll and we'll just dab around the edges. There we go. I'm not going to dry that with my heat tool, but there you go. So what I'm thinking is, let's take, and I'm going to do this from start to finish because I think it's important sometimes not to rush the process. And obviously it's very difficult when you're on TV, you've only got so much time, so you don't get enough time to go through everything in detail. So I'm going to take this little floral here that's with the Leafle stamp set 1004. I'm going to use this one here. So do I? Yes. So I'm going to grab my black ink. And I love it when I don't have to rush a project. So I just love how this is gently sort of wicked out. Really sort of adds to the effect. So it's really pretty. So that's, I've got gold leaf and everything everywhere. So I'm going to take this little stamp that could quite easily be a poppy, and I'm going to add the floral around the actual piece. Now just change the position of that floral. Don't be sort of too precise. You sort of want it different. Turn your circle around as well. It makes it far easier for you. You just want it sort of looking different each time. And you can see I've sort of curled the floral a little bit as well. And just take your time. It's about enjoying the process. And I love doing a video when there's no rush. And I don't really need to press on this floral too much at all. Doesn't that look pretty? I just think that looks really lovely. And just from one little tiny element on your stamp set. And I almost stop breathing as I'm concentrating, which is not really a good idea, is it? But I get so engrossed. Sometimes I forget to speak. But that's because I'm just enjoying the process so much. And it doesn't matter, you know, each time you stamp, if it's a little bit different, that doesn't matter. It just adds to the whole effect. But I'm moving that around because it makes it just a little bit easier for me just to see where I'm going. So you can see I'm sort of adding one that's sort of going with the circle and then sort of one coming in to the circle. Just so you can see that. But it's great because I've literally just curled that floral on my acrylic block just a little bit. And that's what I like about my YouTube channel, is that I don't have to rush. It's my channel, so I can take my time, which really appeals to me. And even if you did nothing else, this is really pretty, really pretty. So let's just remove a little bit of the stem, so it's a little bit shorter. So I've just made that stem a little bit shorter, there. There we go. So doesn't that look pretty? Let's just put this here. I think that looks really pretty. Just even on its own, you could add a sentiment, nothing else, just done. Now, let me just grab. Now, I haven't experimented with these at all. I've literally just purchased them. And these are the Staedtler pigment brush pens. You can use your Ecoline pens, whatever you want. These are pigment pens. So I need to do a little bit more sort of testing with them. But I've got them in a box here. Well, I haven't got them. This is how they came. No ideas. I've not colour swatched. Well, standard practice for Tracy, really, not colour swatching. So, does it say the colour? Red. Well, that's good, isn't it? Tells me a lot. Red, and what colour's this? So you'd think I'd look in the same Bordeaux red. Do you think those two colours would go nice together? So I like the sort of background as well. Really appeals to me. So what I'm going to do is use a piece of the Pink Frog card. And let's have a look at these colours. So they're quite nice colours. I always test how they smudge. And what does it say on the box? I'm sure these have got good light fastness. So what I'm going to do is just do a couple at a time, because you need to work with these when they are wet. So I'm going to use the Bordeaux and then a little bit of the red. I'm sure because these are pigment, they're not, you can't move them, but let's just test. Oh yes, you can move them. Lovely, absolutely lovely. So I'm just using a little bit of water just to move those while they are wet. Why am I mopping the water up then? So I'm going to do, because I want to work with these whilst they're wet, so I'm just adding a little bit of darkness. So I'm using the red, then the Bordeaux red. And I could have had all this done before, you know, I could have had it all coloured and ready. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to show the whole process. So I'm just adding a little bit. Far too much water. I always like to work with less water. I don't need that much water. So these have got good light fastness. So won't fade. I do love the nibs. Let's just blend that out. And I will add touches of white as well. But with my YouTube videos, you're in the process with me. I like it to be a part of the whole process. Now, what I do know about these is you really do need to move them whilst they're wet, because they dry quite quickly. So that's hence I'm doing one flower at a time. And I'm just using a little bit. They move beautifully. Now you can use your Ecoline pens, your Inktense pencils, anything like that, your polychromos, your Prismacolors, whatever you like using. I'm afraid I just adore pens. I really do adore pens, and I'm a sucker for buying pens. So you can see I'm doing one flower at a time, and then I'm moving that colour. But it's a lovely sort of pop of red. And you can see I still haven't, I've got no water in my brush. It's just the water that I picked up off the side. Nothing complicated at all. I'm simply moving the colour. And the reason I haven't used the other colour is because I may use a dark colour still if there is one. Obviously, all you professionals out there will swatch your products. I literally just opened that box fresh, not used them at all until this moment, but that's me all over. And I do like to add layers of colour. but the only reason I'm doing one flower at a time rather than going round the whole lot and then blending is these dry quite quickly and they won't move if it dries. And I want to move that colour whilst it's wet. I love the fact because I'm just using a small amount of water, it's not really affecting the oxide below. There we go. And still haven't added any more water. So because I'm just using a touch of water and I'm not flooding that, I'm keeping that intensity of colour. And I'm aware sometimes it's not always interesting to just watch me colour, but sometimes I do like to show the whole process. A little bit of water now. And I'm hardly adding any colour. There we go. Just add a bit more intensity to that one. So it's just that pop of red really works beautifully just against the greens. And of course, you know I'm going to add leaves to the design. I'm also going to add touches of the white gel pen as well, just to bring that to life a little bit more. And it's funny, that pop of colour really does bring things to life. This here. There we go. And once everything's dry and we add those touches of white, again, that will just pop a little bit more as well. But you could quite easily use this in sort of meadow stamping. You could quite easily use this as a little poppy. But you could also quite easily use it as an anemone and colour that in sort of purples and blues. It all depends on your project. Must admit, it's very therapeutic. Just stamping and colouring for a short while. There we go. And just, you can do so much even with just one little stamp. Just works so nicely. There we go. Just on the last couple. Now, nearly flicked my pen across the desk then. There we go. That's it. I'll have a look if there's a darker colour shortly. Now, you can see that that red really sort of makes things pop. It just works beautifully. Now, what I'm going to do is just grab my gel pen, Some of those should be dry by now. Let's make sure it's working. And just, can you see, just the little pop of white just brings everything just to life again. And you can just add some pops of white just around your floral as well, just to add let me show you, just little touches of that white, just to bring a little bit more vibrancy just to that design. And it just helps to bring things to life. Also, it's very therapeutic and you don't know when to stop. So if you're feeling a little bit stressed, perfect way to de-stress, do some dots. Just add there we go. So just going round and adding the dots. I'll lift this up just when we've finished, just so that you can see the difference it makes and how it lightens everything. It's very therapeutic, this is. Right, let's turn that round. That way. Or is it that way? Oh, I'm going to mess around with it so much now. But can you see, if we just lift that up, you can see, in real life, you will notice it definitely gives you that vibrancy. Right, so now I want to add a leaf, which is the hardest decision because there's so many beautiful leaves. And I think I'm going to use the same stamp set. So the Leafle, I'm going to use this one here. So I'm just going to grab my border acrylic block. And then I'm going to add, let's always have a piece of card on one side because you can experiment with your leaf. So I'm going to use the colours that I've used in the background. So a little bit of Twisted Citron, a little bit of Mowed Lawn, touch of Bundled Sage, and then some Evergreen Bough. Now, it's only really the leaf that I need. I don't need the text. I'm not really so bothered about the text. And in this time, I'm not going to spritz it with water. I'm just going to add it to the background, just so I can take a look at that leaf, just to see if I've got what I'm looking for. Look at the colours, isn't that beautiful? So I think we'll have a couple of leaves because that is just stunning. So we shall do that again. And every time you do it, it's going to look different. So just to prevent a little bit of contamination onto the light colour. Just wiped that slightly. And then we'll just add those colours again. So Twisted Citron, Mowed Lawn, Evergreen Bough, because it's a very nice colour, that is. And every time you do it, it looks completely different. So I do like that. And if you don't like it, well, it doesn't matter. You can just stamp it again. Just. There we go. Just love those. And they'll look so much nicer when we cut them out. But obviously, if you wanted to send somebody a little notelet, you could just stamp that, or even on an ATC, and that would work beautifully. So I'm going to cut these leaves out. And I'm just leaving a minimum white border, just to make it pop a little bit more. I know it's not the most interesting of things to watch people cut out, but I've done no prep for this video, and to be honest with you, I just didn't have the time. The box needed to go to Create and Craft, so I thought, well, I'll just go with the flow. Just cut that out. I always get rid of the excess. But can you imagine if you just got it like that and not cut out this section and just put it straight down there? Doesn't that look nice? Just looks lovely just like that. Absolutely love this. Just think it's wonderful. Nice and easy to cut out, no problem at all. Cuts out really beautifully. But look at that, isn't that beautiful? So I can just add this to my background. We'll just add another leaf. Absolutely love it. I always think leaves are just wonderful, and how you can use them in your projects. They work so beautifully. I just love the shape of this. Really makes me happy. Just moving that leaf out the way because it's just getting in my way as I'm cutting that out. Now you can colour the back of the leaves if you wish. I like to keep it white with having that little bit of a white border. That's fine by me, I don't mind that. But if you want to colour the background of your leaf so that that's the greens as well, it's absolutely fine. It's just that I don't want any ink to come over the edges and obliterate that little bit of white border, because I quite like that white border. Which one are you now? Oh, there we go. It was a bit light at the bottom and I couldn't tell where I was cutting. There we go. So let's just get rid of all these little bits and pieces of paper. And I personally always think it's nice to see the process. So I'm just going to sort of pinch those leaves a little bit because I'm going to add them here. You can decide which leaf you're going to add where. I'm not going to set this down at the moment because I probably want another pop of a floral. And I like to show how they all work together. Just got to find it now. Now, this floral from stamp set 995 Miracle Growth, this floral works beautifully. So I'm going to use this floral here just to add in red. So let's grab, should be able to be okay on my A7. Scrap of card. And I love to show how it works with the other releases. So this is the Miracle Growth. You can see I've got like a mask that's just in the way there, but you can see that floral there, and it's Miracle Growth 995. I'm going to stamp that in black, and I'm sure I've just inked that and I'm just inking it again, but there you go. Now I'm just going to allow that just to absorb into the card. I'm not going to race that and rush, but it's a nice easy floral to use. Know where to place it. So I'm going to colour that floral. Just to what I'm doing this time is, because those petals are quite thin, all I'm doing is touching the edges just so that I haven't got harsh edges. But because the petals are so thin, you don't really need to, you're not physically colouring, you're just touching. But it's a lovely floral, this is, when it's cut out. And what I'm doing is I'm leaving a little bit of a white area just so it looks like that floral has got a bit of a shine. Just completely missed one of those petals then. So just touching it with a tiny amount of water and just leaving a little bit of a light area just so that it looks like it's got a little bit of a shine. Again, I'm going to add some touches of white just to make that pop a little bit more. And now I'm going to cut this out, definitely with less card though. I don't want all this card. I always find it easier to work with a little bit less card. And I've decided that obviously I won't colour one petal. decided I didn't want to do that for some reason. And I keep putting things out the way and then I can't find them. Right, so we'll cut this floral out. And you'll see that I'm moving the card rather than my scissors. And this floral looks particularly nice with a little bit of a white border. Also, it makes it a little bit easier for you to cut out as well. And I do find it easier if I'm not working with bulky pieces of card. If you're going to touch, if you're not sure and you think you're going to touch your stamped image, then just dab your stamped image just so that you blot that black ink, just to make sure you don't smudge. And I do find this floral particularly appealing when it's cut out. There's just something about it. That is rather appealing once it's cut out. And it just adds, somehow just adds the right amount of enough without being too overpowering. But I think it's nice to show how previous releases work with current releases. Okay. So just take your time when you're cutting out. There is no rush. There we go. So just left a little bit of a white border just to bring this in, and it just looks lovely when it's cut out, that does. And I'm just going to add this with the leaves just here, just to give a little bit of that vibrancy. And what I'm going to do is just adhere these leaves, and I'm going to add a little bit of sisal nest. How I can make such a mess with one card is just beyond me, but I seem to do it somehow. I seem to make such a mess. That's all I need. That's all I need. So just adding a little bit of that sisal nest just to give a little bit of texture. And if I use my pin flare glue, that means I can just play around with things a bit, just if I don't quite get them right. So now, with having that sisal nest on there, you need to make sure that you press down a little bit just to make sure you get a good, so it makes contact with the sisal nest so that sticks on there. And I like having a little bit of dimension. If you're posting it out and you don't want to have the dimension, you don't have to add that. Just add a little bit of that. And then I didn't get my other adhesive, did I? I can't believe how much stuff I get everywhere for one card. It's just amazing. So just a little bit of adhesive down there. And I often faff. That's me all over. Don't want any adhesive showing, so I'm just making sure that that makes good contact and we don't have any of that adhesive. So I'm just giving that a few seconds just to grab hold, just to make sure it adheres. There we go. And that just looks lovely against those leaves. Absolutely love that. Right, so on here, let's have Explore Nature, which again is from this stamp set. Explore Nature here from this stamp set 1004 Leafle. I keep picking up acrylic blocks and then losing them. It's me all over. Black ink. You don't really need to press hard with these sentiments, and you don't really need to add much ink either. That couldn't be any more less straight if I tried. That's better. Stamp set, where have you gone? Right in front of me, which is about standard. Just have that Explore Nature. There we go. And I'm going to add this to a black mat. So I'm just going to add a faux mat just to this, which I admit is a bit fiddly, but it's worth it. And I'm doing it on a scrap of white card to save me cleaning up. Let's move that out of the way. Then I can add this sort of there, I think. Just, yep. Talk to yourself, Tracy. So what I want to do is add it so that it's sort of floating. So I'm just going to add the adhesive to one edge so that I can just press that just on there. Just give it a few seconds to grab hold. There we go. You almost hold your breath. I don't know why. It's just a strange thing I do. But you can see that Explore Nature. Then we'll add some of our white splatters. Just make sure that you've got that paint flowing. If you haven't got your paint flowing, the splatters, it just won't work. So you need to make sure you've got that flowing. Once the paint is flowing, it works far better. So just so you can see that, you've got those beautiful florals, the texture from the sisal, the depth from the leaves, just love it. I'm now going to add that to a 6 3/4 inch black mat. Now, it's too big for my hands, this is. I can't hold it, it's just too big. Right. It's a good idea, as I always say in every card, to just make sure everything is dry before you actually try to stick everything down, unlike what Tracy's doing. But I like to, so you can see the card finished. Let's just trim that piece of sisal there. And then I'm going to add that to a 7.5-inch card blank. Let's add that to the 7.5-inch card blank. Again, I'll have to tip it on one side on the side because I can't hold it in front of the camera. My hands just aren't big enough. There we go. So a 7.5-inch card blank. There we go. That's it. And if I just lift that up for you, just so you can see. I absolutely love that little floral around the edges. Just think it's just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And I don't want to add any shading here, just want it a little bit more natural. And I just love that. So I hope you've enjoyed the demonstration with my new release, incorporating an older release, August. So just incorporating that floral from August, but it combines beautifully with those leaves. So I hope you enjoyed that. Love to all, and I'll see you all soon. I will add the link to the bundle on Create and Craft, and don't forget that's available immediately from Monday the 16th of October at midday. You can then purchase onwards at the discounted price, and I have got a gift with purchase, which is a workshop. So love to all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.